All right. I don't want to wait anyone hanging around any longer. Oh, here we go. Hey, Ben.
Hey Mark, does that sound better?
Yeah, that's good. A lot better.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So yeah, obviously, Mark, I'm not 100% sure how far you got there, but just to kind of open up, um, really kind of just want to thank everyone for joining on. This it's really great to see kind of so many people here. This has been a kind of long time coming for the kind of launch of High Ground. So we're really excited to be able to be in a position now to kind of share it with you and hopefully get everyone excited about what we've been building over the kind of past few years. Um, we really think that High Ground has been built to solve a real problem in our industry and something that businesses are really struggling with. So we're excited to show you how we're going to go about it. We do have a kind of pretty packed session for today. The plan is just to try and keep it as kind of pointed and punchy as possible. So, in a moment, I'm going to hand things over to the main host for the afternoon, Mark, and he's going to walk through what High Ground is, why it exists, and kind of what problem it solves. We'll jump into a kind of live demo. So that you can see it in action, and after that, we will return to the presentation where we'll cover off a special offer. So definitely stick around for that. And finally, we'll wrap up with some live Q&A. So if you do have anything that you want to ask throughout, please feel free to just pop it into the chat and we'll get to as many of your questions as we can. So yeah, kind of without further ado, Mark, if you just want to take over and jump into things, that would be great.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Ben. And yeah, thanks everyone for coming again. Just to introduce myself, I'm Mark Lamb. I'm the founder of HighGround.io, but I'm also an MSP owner. I've got an MSP in Scotland called M3 Networks. You can check us out at m3networks.co.uk. Just to give you a little bit of context into the size of M3, we are about 25 employees doing just under 3 million in revenue, UK, British pounds, that is. So approximately 3.5 million. I look after around about 2,500 seats. So not a small MSP, but also not a huge corporate MSP either. So we get the best and the worst of both worlds. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and we'll just jump right into the presentation and we'll just go from there. Okay, you see my screen, Ben?
Yes, can. Yep.
All right, perfect. So we built HighGround to solve our challenges that we were experiencing and trying to increase our cybersecurity sales. And what I mean by that is customers not understanding why it is that they need to improve their security, thinking that we've already got it covered for them, having crazy ideas about what it is we do and don't do for them as their MSP. So that's the reason behind why we created the product. And it's evolved from that into being, as you can imagine, something a little bit more complex because you can't just talk about security in a silo with your customers. So I want to start off with a pretty big hitting point. 46% of us in this industry, in our MSP industry, are barely profitable. And a chunk of those are actually at loss making. These statistics are actually, or this statistic in particular, comes from the ConnectWise Service Leadership Program. So, if any of you that are familiar with that, they do a lot of research into MSPs and looking at their finances as well, as well as a lot of market research to come to these points. Now, despite the fact that 46% of MSPs are barely profitable, managed services grew 30% in 2022, and the best-in-class MSPs are actually turning 23% profit on their EBITDA. So there's quite a disparity between the top leading MSPs in the industry in terms of financial performance and the rest of them. So why is that? Why is this happening? Well, there's a few key things about the best-in-class MSPs that you should know about. The first is that they've doubled their cybersecurity revenue in just the last 2 or 3 years. They bundle their security services into fewer security packages. They make it simple for their customers to buy. They don't sell security as an add-on. It's mandatory. The customer doesn't have an option. And over 70% of their clients are on their highest paying security package. So they're doing a really good job of increasing the customer spend whilst giving them fewer options and not making it mandatory. And those results speak for themselves. However, the rest of us, not the best-in-class MSPs, we're still struggling with these basic things. How do we price and package our security offerings? How do we demonstrate value in investing in cyber? It's difficult for customers to understand that value. It's a big part of the problem. We struggle with closing sales, especially security sales, because often customers push back on it. I like to call us as MSPs like accidental salespeople. We tend to convince our customers into buying just purely because they trust that we're giving them the right advice, rather than being out there being a killer, if you like, out there winning and closing sales. We also struggle for time. Every one of you here today, I appreciate taking an hour to listen to me mumble on isn't an easy thing to do. And I'm sure, you're getting calls and emails and distracting you. It's difficult to get the time to get focusing on developing sales, and sales is a time suck for the most of us. And building a profitable stack. And this is something I think that MSPs who have used HighGround so far have really realized that when you look at your stack in a different light, you start to realize that it's actually quite expensive. It goes beyond simply the licenses that you pay for, and especially into the services or the service you have to deliver behind it. And amongst all of what I've said there, we've got what the client thinks. Most clients think they're low risk. They think that you're going to have them back up and running in just a few hours. We know that's not true, but customers think that. They think they're spending too much on IT. It's already included in what they pay us for. I don't know how customers have come up with the conclusion that we do all manner of different things for them included in what they pay us for. It's likely our fault for just being too helpful. However, it's a real issue that customers have got misaligned expectations. And the worst one of all is that they think cyber is your problem. I wish you could put our hands up here and say how many of you have actually had a customer say if they have a cyber attack, it'll be your fault and they would leave you because it would be a direct reflection on you as their MSP rather than their poor choices that led them to the place that they are. And also, of course, cyber attacks are arguably inevitable for all of us. So HighGround helps you solve these challenges. It shows your customer what their security looks like in a way that they can understand. And we do that by not talking just about security, but also talking about their budget and where their money goes. So they can get an understanding of how much money they're spending with you, how much money they're spending with other providers, and overall get some real context around what that big chunky number in the P&L looks like for what they're spending on IT and cybersecurity. It helps you to build a profitable security stack. Digging deep into your security stack in terms of what products you can be offering, what technologies you maybe do or don't have services for, whether or not you could be using a vendor for more things than you're already using to get sort of economies of scale and get having to stop managing so many different tools. And ultimately, when you build your stack, you build security packages with that stack in HighGround that, again, your customers can understand what it is that you're selling them, what it is they need to buy, and what the security posture looks like. And then through all of that, it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of time in trying to get these proposals put together and show customers what their posture looks like. A bit of me dies inside every time a customer asks me to go and rewrite another report or type it up in a way they can understand. And I'm thinking, I just don't have the time to do this, but they push it back on us, and we're all working late in the evenings and weekends trying to catch up and just keep things going and barely keeping up. And I think most exciting thing about HighGround is it's also a great tool for you to win new business. With HighGround, you're able to position why you're a security first MSP, why you take security seriously, and how, on the journey that you can take them on to improve their business security and their cyber resilience over time. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to jump into HighGround and we're going to have a quick demo and I'm going to show you some of these real features in action. Okay, Ben, can you see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. So I'm actually just going to start here in our security stack. So as I mentioned a moment ago, all of us have a managed security stack that we provide our clients. And that is absolutely core to everything that you do as an MSP. You use that stack for your support, for your security, for your management, even for yourself. And so in HighGround, we begin by building out our stack aligned with HighGround's best practices that you see here, which are aligned with many of the best international security frameworks, such as NIST cybersecurity framework, which we use extensively in HighGround. But the NIST cybersecurity framework is aligned to all sorts of other security frameworks, which we often call it the grandfather framework. So in here, we've converted all of that into the core components and technologies that you will need. So you can see here, I've already built my stack out. I've got Sentinel-1 in my endpoint protection, Mesh, who are doing a great job at the moment of helping MSP save a ton of time on email security. WebTitan and Total, however you pronounce that. I think everyone pronounces that one slightly different. Know Before for security awareness training, so on and so forth. Now, if you find that you don't have a product for one of these, if you're not using something, you can go to Reddit, like most of us, or in HighGround, you can actually quickly see lots of the other MSP-friendly tools that are in use in one of these particular categories, and you can have a quick look. So we put a lot of these in here for you by default. It can just save you a ton of time in trying to do that. Same thing if you're unhappy with a tool. You might, be thinking of changing a vendor, or when you start using HighGround and start documenting how much you're spending, you may start to realize that you need to change it out to be more cost effective and deliver your clients better security whilst you still make money. Because let's remember, that's the key of all of this. We want to protect our clients, but we're a business too, and we're here to make money. So you work through all these. I'll not spend too much more time, but you can see there's quite an extensive range of different tools and technologies that you need to have a solution for in order to be able to look after your clients. Things like backup, secure configuration, your firewalls, password managers, uh, you name it. So just going to quickly switch out of there, and I'm going to go to a fictitious client. This one here is Scoon Palace. Now, this customer here, we have their security KPIs. This is how we help our customer understand what their security looks like today. We'll start off with the cyber score, which is the primary indicator of security posture for the client. And you can see that I've already mapped our stack to this client. So I can see these tools that the client uses. To make it a little bit quicker, you can actually, when you integrate your PSA, we will pull down the products you've sold them because you map your stack to the products, a step I didn't show you a moment ago. But this helps you really quickly see what they're buying, what you sold them, and what the associated tool is. So you can quickly, I've already done this, but you could quickly click apply and apply that to the client. You can also switch here into recurrent spend and see all the different things that they buy on a recurrent basis. So it may be that there's something in here that would give you a bit of a, a tip or a giveaway, something they maybe bought annually, something that's not in your stack, just help you do it a little bit quicker. So this is particularly useful when you're showing your client their posture, because they often think, hey, we've got Sentinel-1, we've got this tool or that tool, we spend a lot of money, our security must be really good. But they don't realize just how vast cybersecurity is. And many of us, even many of us in the MSP world, don't fully understand just how vast it is in all the different areas. If we sit down and think about it, we would, and HighGround helps you to do that. So we map out what the customer has. If they don't have something, we can quickly pop a message in. So here on penetration testing, I've said that the client doesn't have a big enough infrastructure to justify doing penetration testing, but we've at least documented the answer, which is also useful because we all often forget about things that were said or why things are the way that they are. But it's not just about tools, it's also about governance and resilience. All the things that the customer thinks that you're doing for them already, but you can't possibly be doing, but they just make it up. My favorite one is cyber incident response. Customers thinking, hey, we pay you for cyber incident response. You're like, no, you don't. You just call us when it goes wrong. And what are we supposed to do? You don't have a plan. You don't have an internal procedure. You don't review it. We don't review it. We just, something happens and we respond, and it's stressful for everybody involved. So this area is quite extensive. It works through policies, whether they're doing board reviews, whether they carry cyber insurance, whether they have disaster recovery plans. This is a really useful one too, right? Customer has backup, but they don't have a plan and they don't test that plan. They just have backup and they don't understand that it's really important to be good in backup and business resilience. We have to be building plans and we have to be testing that. Also carrying insurance and understanding for your client as to, yeah, you insure your cyber risk, but that's not the end of it. There's ultimately don't want a cyber attack. And cyber insurance is there for a really bad day. It's not there to be relied upon and use it to not invest in cybersecurity. We go into supply chain security management and also VCIO and technology strategy to help them understand why all of this matters around governance and resilience and planning for the worst and hoping, praying for the best. So we map that to the cyber score, as I said. We also have the cyber resilience KPI, which is a separate KPI here that helps them to understand all those resilience things. And most importantly, and what customers find most useful is this here. So we take the controls that you've seen and we map them against in this cybersecurity framework to give them a shape of their security. So the further they are from the center point to the outer point, the more mature they are in that axis or in that area. I'm going to switch clients in just a moment and show you a few different examples. This particular customer has a very strong, very good security posture, but that's not always the case. Quickly, before I go into the financial side, I also want to show you that through the various integrations we have, got a lot of RMM, PSA, and security integrations. We also show and can show the security issues that they have on devices and also issues they have with users. So this is an example of computers that are, warranties have expired on them. They're over a certain age. We can see when that warranty expired if we have that data, when they installed that device, when the device is end of life or is going to be going end of life as well. And if they have any user issues, so for example, you don't have MFA turned on or we have a risky sign-in, it can also be useful to be able to get that. I know you probably have tools that are doing this for you already, but it can be very useful for account managers, or if you're just in this conversation with the client using HighGround to be able to quickly populate that information and show it to the customer. So back to security stack here, technology spend. What ultimately underpins all the things that we do for a client is money. Finances are often a fraught area where there's a lot of friction with customers. They often think and feel that they're spending a fortune on IT and technology, and that may well be true, but it doesn't make their security any better. So with HighGround, this data that you see here, this has come from the PSA, but we can also add manual spend. So you can see in this example, with this customer security posture, they're spending 5,000, approximately 8% of their budget on cybersecurity. Support's taking a chunk, and Microsoft, as we all know, are taking a great big chunk, and they're about to take even more. But customers often think that you'll have a conversation with a client. I had one just 2 weeks ago where the customer said, I spent 100,000 with you. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't spend 100,000 with me. Maybe you're spending money with other people, but you're not spending 100K with me. And so the reason that happens is because because we're the prominent provider to our clients, when they look and think about IT and technology, they think about you as the MSP first. And because of that, the customer will where they get that number from is the P&L. They'll look at that P&L. That client I'm talking about probably does say 100K, but they're spending money with other software providers, particularly SaaS subscriptions, and goodness knows what else they put into the IT P&L line item. And so it's important that we can get to the bottom of that number. We want to help them because actually, as MSPs, that really helps us to help show them where they're spending money. And that's that's loaded with opportunity. So in this example, this customer is not spending any money on telecoms, apparently. Now, I know that this customer has phones, like almost all customers have telephones. So what we can do, say to the customer, okay, so who do you have your phones with, and what phone system do you have? Now let's assume that this customer has a 3CX phone system. Can't type. And they tell you that they're paying 500 a month. We can change currency. And by the way, everything that we do in HighGround is multi-currency. So I know you're seeing British pounds here because this is real data for my MSP, but you can have any that you want. So let's say they're spending 500 a month, and that subscription started in 2024. Why does this matter? Well, we're going to say that this customer is in a 3-year contract because they're telling us that. And we sell telecoms, so we want to win this work. And let's say that customer has a 3-month notice period. That's going to be pretty important for you to know, because if you diarize to contact them, a month or a couple of months out and find out that that contract is already renewed, then it's going to renew again and you're going to miss a sales opportunity to do it. So now we're starting to know how much money they're spending on this particular thing. We're doing it because we're trying to get the spend in, but we're also doing it because we're trying to capture the sales opportunity. Because if you could do this phone system for the client for, say, 300 a month, The customer wins because they save a bit of money there. You win because you're getting extra support, so that you're getting extra revenue that you otherwise wouldn't have got. And lastly, the money that they save can be contributed to either increasing and improving their security spend or saving money. But in my personal experience, customers are much more likely to be appreciative that you're making the budget more efficient rather than simply trying to get the direct cost down, as long as they feel that it's all about value at the end of the day. So we can see here that this customer's contract is going to renew on the 5th of July. Sorry, well, yeah, for Americans, it would be 5th of July. For me, it's going to be the 7th of May, 2027. I'm going to click save on this. And HighGround is going to calculate all the payments that have been made on this subscription since it began. So I could click yes, generate. It's going to create a subscription here for the 3.6 phone system. I'm going to come back, and now we can see telecoms has jumped by 5,000. So we've now got a count of that. This has gone from 62 to 67. And our cyber percentage we spend on cyber, or the percentage the client spends on cyber, has now dropped to 7.5% of their overall budget, which was sitting at just over 8 before we added that in. So you can see that if we're trying to help the customer to understand how much money proportionally they're spending on cybersecurity, or for anything for that matter, this is really important that we get the full picture so we can dilute that number and help them to understand with customers with a weaker security posture that proportionally they're not spending anywhere near enough. We can also drill into that data. So if I click into the telecoms, which we just added a moment ago, I can see the subscription that we added here. I can also see the subscription payments that it created when we added it, and we can actually see that sitting there too. And on my one, if I just open up the cybersecurity, here's an invoice that came from my PSA. It came from ConnectWise Manage. I can drill into the invoice, and I can see the individual line items that were in the cybersecurity category sitting here highlighted in blue, and the customer can see that exact data. So you can go as deep as you want. I don't recommend you go there because we want to keep the conversation with the client high level, but it's good to know that you can do that and get to that level of detail if you want. Before I go any further, Ben, we'll take a quick stop and see if we've got any questions or anything, comments, the audience.
Yeah, yeah, we do actually. So Usman asked about kind of the functionality and how you'd be able to use this for consultancy practice kind of point of view. So if you can expand on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so yes, you mean like if you're a consultant for MSPs or for particular clients. I suppose if you're consulting with other MSPs, then you could certainly use it to help them improve their stack and to help them improve their security offerings. We're actually just about to come to that in just a moment. If it's consulting directly with end users, then in HighGround, we don't have. We used to have a model where you could sign up directly, but we've gone MSP only. The only way you can get HighGround is to be an MSP. So you could get an MSP subscription and use it that way, give clients a log on and work with companies directly, pretending to be. Well, I'm not saying you should pretend to be an MSP, but from a HighGround perspective, pretending to be an MSP, you can give clients logons to their dashboards, and they can be a part of this as well.
Yeah, cool. And I'll just cover another one, and a super relevant point I think from Jay, who's asked how safe is our data with you guys. At the end of the day, you are a competitor, which is 100% a valid point.
Absolutely. So in HighGround, we've got a set of legal terms and conditions written up. Sorry, not in HighGround, in our MSP, which give you full legal protection from M3. And I've had this conversation with several MSPs now, and I completely understand that issue. I think the main thing to know is that for us, A, it's immoral. B, we're in Scotland, but interestingly enough, we are using HighGround with our local competitors in this area, and they're so confident in our agreements and our legal terms and conditions that their lawyers have looked over that and have agreed that it gives them adequate safety from us as an MSP. So A, we do the right thing. Wouldn't do that, but I appreciate words are cheap, and we've backed that up with a full set of legal terms and conditions. And once HighGround gets rolling and it's self-sustaining, it will be spun out into its own legal entity. It won't be a part of M3. So there is no intention to maintain it within the MSP forever. It's just it was born there, and it's still supported by us as the MSP for now until such times as we get past that.
Perfect. And just one other question that Bruce has raised, which is a really relevant point again. So Bruce has just mentioned that he could see the sales team wanting to use this from a prospecting point of view, and has asked if there's a kind of reporting function for current versus recommended stack and spend. So that's probably a pretty good segue into maybe some of the things that you're going to come on to a little bit further down the line, Mark.
Absolutely, absolutely. I absolutely recommend that you use HighGround as a prospecting tool. We use it as a prospecting tool, and in fact, it's one of the areas that it's likely to have one of the most significant impacts is when you're trying to set out your position with prospective clients and demonstrating what you can offer. So yeah, if you bear with me, Bruce, we'll get to that actually very soon. But that's the direction of travel from here on out. Right. So is that everything, Ben? We move on with the demo.
Yeah, Bruce has got another one, but we can yeah, we'll move on and we'll get to Bruce's other question as we go.
Okay, perfect. So you have this conversation with your customer, or as Bruce's point there, we would be using the product with prospects. The problem, the slight issue you can have with prospects, of course, is that they might not want to tell you their security spend or any of their spend. It really depends on your relationship with that prospect, how they are. They're not all going to want to do that, but of course, the more they're prepared to tell you, the better you can utilize the product. But nonetheless, it's pretty safe to say their current provider will not be providing them this level of visibility, and that for that reason alone, most customers that we've seen in prospecting, or most prospects, I should say, will look at this and say, you know what, that's kind of the I want to see, and that's another reason why I would want to work with you, because you can show this information to me, and that's what I want to do to be able to manage my budget and make more educated decisions. But for existing clients, and we're having this conversation about security posture, the next natural step is going to be, what do you want your security to be like? We're trying to, as MSPs, identify what the risk appetite of the client is. Not an easy thing to do because they'll often say one thing and do another, as we know. So I'm going to just quickly change customer here to one who doesn't have such a good security posture. So you can see here, much lower, not very good at resilience, pretty weak on the cyber capabilities. One of the things that customers may say to you is, I want my cyber score to be 70 and above. I want to be at least 40, 50% of my resilience. And I want to be, midpoint or further all the way around on this radar chart. Because of course that's what we want. In the MSPs, we're going to be thinking, well, you can't afford that. But that's a difficult thing to say to a customer. I don't suggest that you do say that, but being able to show the customer what their security posture looks like and what it can look like is what you can do in HighGround. So I've built some security packages already, which I'm going to show you. We'll not cover how to build them today because we could spend a long time in there. But this customer has 25 users, 25 devices, a server, two servers in fact, um, one location, one domain, fairly standard. We could click get assets, and this would show us assets that we've pulled in from integration. So if we want to have a little look at that information and see, who these users are, who these devices are, it would show us that data. But that data is then inputted as an input into these packages. These packages, when we build them, are constructed in such a way that they're designed to be reused. So in my example here, I've got a security series, just like the best-in-class MSPs, with called Cyber Shield, and it's Cyber Shield Basic, Cyber Shield Pro, and Cyber Shield Max. So this customer is automatically going to tell me that it's going to cost 405 a month for Cyber Shield Basic, 1700 for the Max, and somewhere in the middle, Cyber Shield Pro is 880 a month. So immediately we're saving ourselves a ton of time here. We're not having to go and write reports, presentations. When the customer tells us they want our security to be like Cyber Shield Max, but when they find it 1700, they say, holy cow, no way, I can't afford that. And you've just sunk all that time knowing that was going to happen, and you're never going to get that time back. So we can very quickly test the customers or price test them and able to show them what we can do for them and what that will cost. So we can quickly identify, or then they can identify what they're going to have to spend and ultimately what the risk appetite is. Because when the money gets involved, that risk appetite suddenly changes and it becomes, you start to see the real risk appetite, which is, even billionaires have to make decisions, as they say. No matter how much money they've got, they'll have to make a decision. And that is ultimately their decision. You can't you can't ultimately make that decision for them. So here in HighGround, I could show them, for example, the Cyber Shield Basic. If I open this up, it's going to pop it open, and it's going to show, and the dashed blue line is our current posture, and this purple dashed shape is the posture of this package. And let's see if I pop the Cyber Shield Pro open, which is probably more realistic for this customer, we can see we're going to make our protection a bit better, adding a bit more detection and response. We're trying to get a little bit more balance, but we can see the combination. But we can see that this one here, this one called Recover, it's actually a little bit better on, sorry, the current posture is a little bit better on Recover than the one we're proposing. So if, for example, they wanted something a bit more custom than your standard package, which you can do in HighGround, but we could click merge and see what that looks like when we combine the both of them, so they could see an aggregate shape of the two of them together. It's going to show them up front what it's going to cost. It's going to show how it's going to improve each of the axes of NIST. It's going to predict their resilience score and predict their cyber score. And also, this is particularly useful. The NIST radar chart is very good for being a visual, but another really useful way is to switch to security pillar view. And that's going to show us all the component parts of this package and how they sit. So this is how we protect your users. This is how we protect your devices. This is how we protect your data, your network, your cloud, how we make your business more resilient. And this is how we help with your compliance. So if they already have it, because we've attested at the beginning what they have, it will be in grey, and anything that's new that this package is going to provide will be in blue. So it's very clear to show what they already have that we're going to include and what they don't and what is going to be provided as an extra. A full breakdown of the financials. You can add recurring spend. So if they're already spending things with you and this package is going to cover that, you can add that as a contribution. You can add discounts as well. All the features appear at the bottom, and all the NIST alignment, all the tools is extensive in the amount of detail it provides. And you can hit export here to export that as a security package that they can take away, save you having to write it all up in an email. Because that's the worst thing, right? You spend all the time, but then they still ask you to write it up, and it just takes you a ton of time. And the good thing about this is that you can completely tailor this. So if you think this customer, if they see that pricing breakdown, man, they're going to chip me down on price. So I just want to turn that off. Like, get rid of that. This customer's not going to see that. Don't want to show them the features. Don't want to show them components. I want to show them the NIST alignment because that makes me look good. And I want them to see this by security pillar. So I'm going to switch that view up. And here we go. We've got a customized report, write a cover note about something that we talked about in the meeting, and we can print that to PDF and send it to the client. However, I don't actually recommend that you send this individual report. You can do, it's great, but there's an even better report than that in HighGround. Let's switch back to my first client that we were looking at. And on the dashboard here, we have print the client report. If we do this, this is going to aggregate everything that you've seen today in this demo into a single report. So save you a ton of time, and it looks really good. We can show the customer what the security posture looks like today, how much money they're spending. We can filter that view on a period if we wanted to, what their subscriptions are with other providers. And it may be you as well. That's, by the way, that's a bit of a hack. If you don't have an integration, you can add your spend as a subscription as well as the things they spend with other people. Where they're doing well in their security and the tools that they use, where they need to improve, so things that they're not doing so well on, things you've not yet covered. So maybe you just didn't have enough time, and you don't want them thinking that just because it's not in the report, that like it doesn't matter. There's always areas that we haven't covered. These will be here. We get a breakdown of any user issues. We didn't cover that today, and all the device issues that we've seen as well. So their ages, the warranty expirations, or end of life, all the things that we talked about. And at the very bottom here, we can recommend a package. So I'm going to pick Pro. It's the recommended package, Cyber Shield Pro. If we scroll down, now at the bottom of the report, we're going to tag on what we think they should do. So this is what we recommend you do. This is the Cyber Shield package. This is what it's going to cost for you. This is why it's going to cost that. And this is what this package is going to include. All the technologies, the tools, the practices, everything that we've talked about with them, all nicely combined in a really good looking report that you can export and give to your clients. So from back to Bruce's point just a moment ago about how we would use it with prospects, I would recommend that you do as much as you can do manually, Bruce, but also know that you can produce this report and give it to them with everything that you do know. And I think what's really important with prospecting, because we only know so much when we prospect, right? It's only when they become a client that we really know what's going on. That's where this areas which are incomplete becomes really important. So we're kind of giving ourselves a little bit of a safety net and saying, look, we don't know these things because we've not been able to cover them. We've tried to the best of our knowledge. We don't know this information, but these are the things that we've identified you're doing well on, and these are the areas that you can improve. And that's it. There's a lot more to HighGround, but I don't want to overwhelm everybody because it can be a bit overwhelming in how much it can do. But I hope that you can see there that it's a really powerful sales enablement tool. I'm just going to switch back to my presentation to finish this off before I do
Mark,
that.
can I just jump in with a couple of questions there just before you close that down? One of the questions that Michael asked was around integrations with a quoting tool. And if that's something that is a current feature, if that's something that's on the kind of to-do list for HighGround.
Yeah. So on our roadmap for Q2 this year is to release our new storefront feature. And the storefront, as it sounds, is a feature that will allow you to show your productizing your services into easy to see, easy to price products. So one of the things that we're thinking about doing with that next is to integrate into digital quoting tools. We've actually toyed with the idea of developing a digital quoting tool into the product, but I think that my personal feeling there, and I'd like to be steered by the general opinion of other MSPs because everyone's got a slightly different opinion, and we really want to build towards what other people want, not just what we want. I want to make that quite clear. We're not going to continue to develop the product purely for what we do, but for the masses. In fact, a lot of what you see in the product today came from working closely with other MSPs for the last year or so. Some have been really influential in our development, things that they do that we don't do here in our MSP. So if people do think and feel that building it or versus integrating it, whichever the better route is 100% something we'll look at doing. We're quite capable in the integration side. As I said at the beginning, we already have over 30 integrations already.
Perfect. And one that I'd missed from earlier, so apologies, David, but does the tool help to complete cyber insurance application forms? And can you dive into the cyber insurance section in more detail?
Uh, yes to the second one. We have a whole module in HighGround for recording the client's cyber insurance details and also holding their policies. As for the first one, again, that is a feature that we're just looking at how we can use AI at the moment, not just to do cyber insurance questionnaires, but also to do any type of security compliance questionnaire that your client gets. So let's say one of their customers sends them an assessment and they want to know all these answers, and or it's the cyber insurance or whatever, we'll be able to feed the questionnaire and use AI to auto answer these questions on your client. So that's something that's on our, I'll not say it's on a roadmap because I'm wanting to see how many MSPs want it, but we've very much got strong ideas and know exactly how we'll do it if it's something that really resonates and people want.
Perfect. Thanks.
No problem. Yeah, so as I said a moment ago, we've been working with a number of other MSPs over the last year or so, and we've also got a number of early adopters that are using and paying for the product as well, which has been fantastic. So although this is our bigger launch, we do have people using it, and these are some of the things that people have been saying around about how it helps them save a ton of time, how it saves them a lot of effort, how it helps them to make a lot more money, and yeah, that time saving and that money making is a real key theme in what we hear from people who've used the product so far.
And Mark, just before you skip on there, so just in terms of those MSPs who are up on that screen, kind of what have they done and how are they using HighGround to their benefit?
Yeah, good question. Well, the use cases that we've seen so far is first off the stack. People looking at the stack, realizing that their stack's incomplete and they don't have as good a stack as they thought. Um, but also on the stack side, really understanding they didn't realize how much money they were paying for the tools they were using. It's just the kind of thing that, yeah, you could go and look, but when you use a product like HighGround to start building your security packages and services, it forces you to look at your costs. And some of them have been quite horrified when they've done that. Also, it's been used to help completely rebuild their security offering. G there that you see, I'm sure you'd be happy to say too that looking at what they spend, looking at what they provide far too much for their customer for free. and realizing that these are things they should be charging for, giving way too much away and not giving them enough room for maneuver. And those stack costs, they really eat up your margin, and that's another thing that's been seen. And probably the other use case that I would say has been building confidence. Like the understanding security in a much better and way has helped some of these MSPs to feel, some of them were avoiding the security conversation with customers because they didn't want to get caught out. But with HighGround, it's a real confidence booster to help them get out there in front of their customers. And some of them have made over $10,000 of sales already just by using it with prospects. Never mind before they brought the security packages, they've actually been able to use it to automatically get like deeper risk assessment work done before the quote and proposal, just because the provider wanted to see, sorry, just because the client just wanted to see much more detailed information that they didn't have, and they went on to win those clients as well. So all of those things, Ben.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
No problem. So what differentiates us? Well, as I said, we're an MSP. You can look at that as a positive, and I appreciate you can also see it as a negative. But I really hope that these legal terms and conditions that we can openly provide you will give you the confidence to make sure that you can trust us. As I said, it would be suicide for us to do anything that would be immoral and wrong. We use the product ourselves. I think that's the key thing. Eat your own dog food saying, right? We use it with our own clients, and we have a lot of success with that, which also means that we've developed sales playbooks and sales tracks that have come from that real experience. And we're just in the end, at the beginning stages at the moment of building our coaching program, where you'll be able to also get access to some of that coaching content up front. And if you want to engage in premium coaching, you'll be able to get one-to-one coaching, month to month, access to premium content, and you'll also have offers to have assisted sales, as we call it. So you can bring us into a big sales opportunity that you've got, or not into the meeting, or you can have us outside the meeting, kind of help and give guidance and advice, and or listening to recordings of your meetings and seeing how well they went, and maybe where you could improve or be better. And that also includes helping you with your stack and giving you recommendations there too. And finally, I really believe that we're solving a real problem. That we're not just a vendor that's developed some Fandango security product, although some people remind me I have, but it's not. It's something that we really passionately care about. Solving that revenue problem, that 46% of MSPs that are barely turning a profit. HighGround's developed to really address that issue and do it in a way that's going to be a lot more comfortable for MSPs, and do it with the same level of time savings that you get with using AI at the moment for many other things that you might be using it for. So we've said at the beginning of this call that we have a special offer for the launch. So this is available for 72 hours post this presentation. And that offer is lifetime pricing. So buying in now, your price will never change. You get unlimited prospect licenses. So Bruce, that'll be great for you. Unlimited premium client licenses. So if you want to give a client, I forgot the name of the person who said it, was it David, about using it with your existing clients as a consultant. If you want to give them a log on and do this together with them, you need a premium client license to do that. You'll get those unlimited for free, and they're worth $50 a month per license. So it's a really great opportunity to lock them in and not have to pay for them. And 50% off rapid implementation. So we have a rapid implementation program that we've developed through experience of working with the MSPs we've worked with so far, the best practices. Very involved with that is coaching as well, where we help coach as part of that, and you actually get a full 1 hour coaching session for free at the end of it too, um, to help with any questions that you've got or anything that you might want a little bit of help with. So you can scan that QR code, secure that launch offer within the next 72 hours. All you have to do is book in for a demo, and that if you book in for demo and then become a paying client, then that offer will be open to you. But you do have to do that within the next 72 hours to secure that offer. As for what it actually costs, well, my opinion, and I'm biased, but I think it's cheap, right? We're keeping our pricing deliberately aggressive. It's designed so that you don't have to make very many sales at all in order for you to be able to pay for the product. And it shouldn't be something that costs you money. It should be something that makes you money. So It's priced based on the number of clients and prospects you have. The prospects will be irrelevant for anyone here that signs up on that offer because you'll get unlimited. But if you're up to 50 clients, that's a couple $100 a month. Up to 100 clients, 300, and up to 250, $500 per month.
Just before you skip on there, Mark, can you just cover off the terms there? Michael asked about the terms, so kind of contract period, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yep. Terms are 30 days. So I believe that, if you're not getting value, then you shouldn't have to get locked in. We're not going to lock you into a 12-month contract. Over time, as we get larger and develop and grow, that will become a term for others. But not only will you lock in the price, you will also lock in that term. So you will have the ability to, if it's not working for you, you'll be able to walk away. We're not going to lock you in.
Perfect, thanks.
So thank you very much for everyone that's listened. I'm going to obviously go to final Q&A in a moment, but I'll just leave this up on the screen while we go there. If anyone wants to scan that QR code and sign up for the demo, please just do that. And if you can't find a time that works for you, we'll send out an email after this event giving you our email and other contact information if you want to reach out and have a chat. But thank you very much, and I hope to see some of you in a demo very soon.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. Do you want me just to cover off a couple of additional questions that remain from the chat then?
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. So another question from Bruce, just around how we protect data within the platform. So he's asking about whether we hold ISO 27001 or kind of any other accreditations around securing the data in there.
Yeah, so we're looking at doing SOC 2 and the ISO 27001. At the moment, we don't have them because we can't carry them with the company as it spins out. So we don't want to incur the cost of achieving those certifications to then have to redo them all over again, which you can imagine nobody wants to do that. As for how we do it, though, in terms of how we are actively protecting that data, be transparent about how we hold the system. So everything's hosted in Microsoft Azure. Things like encryption keys are hosted in Azure Key Vault. Our data is encrypted and stored at rest, and we actively penetration test it, and with CREST certified penetration testers, and we protect it with using a web application firewall as well. So, and very shortly in our next release, we're going to be implementing single sign-on with Azure and Google Workspace as well. So you'll be able to get visibility on any authentication into the platform through your SIEM or SOC that you're currently using or are going to use in the future. So we're doing the right things from a technical point of view, regardless of the accreditation. But I appreciate that that will be an important thing, and it will be something that we'll do once we spin out its own legal entity.
Perfect. And so unless anyone else has any last minute questions they want to pop into the chat, I think we've covered everything, and we've even managed to do it a few minutes early. So if there's nothing else, we'll let everyone get a few minutes back in their diary, and just kind of once again, just want to thank everyone for taking the time out your diary. As Mark said earlier, we know that that's not easy, so just really appreciate everyone coming along. And if anyone has any questions, or wants to book on that demo, just do so using the kind of links provided previously.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing some of you soon.